Welcome to Rapid Roundup, a series where we take several games throughout the week, do mini critiques on them, and let you know what we think. Throughout all of this, my name is Moriarty.
And this is Brax.
And this week, we'll be taking a look at Skylight VR,
Staxel,
Psyche Soldier VR,
Until None Remain.
Later on in the week, on Wednesday,
we will take a look at They Are Billions, a steampunk strategy game that reminds me of older RTSs like Age of Empires, but it's all about survival. You have to defend your civilization from hordes of 20,000 zombies, all the while trying to gather resources and make sure that you survive a zombie apocalypse.
Then later on Friday, we're going to have another talks video, this time about the most influential game of all time. This is the most influential game. I will explain why, how, the history of it, and what it has changed and affected in all games. But for now,
let's round them up.
Skylight VR is Ender's Game in VR. This is an incredibly awesome turn-based tactics game in VR.
I've never played one of those in VR. I'm a huge fan of turn-based tactics games though. Some of my favorites were on handhelds back in the day. It was something that I always did when I was on the go. The idea of doing that in VR sounds really, really neat to me.
This is an incredibly cool game. It is one of the more unique games. We've seen strategy games in VR before. They all kind of tend to be, I don't want to say bad, but bad. And this isn't bad. You have a three-dimensional grid, up, down, left, right, all of that. Your goal is to kill the enemy team. There's usually only, let's say, 10 or 15 ships on a map, sometimes as few as 2 or 3. And you get to choose which ships you're going to use and then direct them in different turns, and then both sides will take their turns simultaneously.
I like the sound of that. Is this PvP though, or is it PvE? Like, are you fighting AIs, or is this an online multiplayer?
There is online multiplayer in it. I didn't find anybody, but it's there. The game, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of players in the player base right now, which is really common in multiplayer titles that are indie titles, so I don't necessarily hold that against them. This is super fun. I could spend hours playing this game. It's incredibly cool. There's almost 40 different missions in the single player, so even if you can't find somebody, you're still going to be able to play. Now, one of the cool things about that multiplayer is that it is a turn-based multiplayer that does not require that you be online at the same time. So you could do a play-by-email style of multiplayer where you do your turn, they do their turn, and then when you guys both log in, it progresses to that next turn.
That helps. That helps a lot when you said that there's not a huge player base for it. I'm not going to fault it for that. That's just kind of the way it is sometimes. But the fact that they have it set up that way is going to actually help remedy that situation, I would think. And also, like you said, I would get down with just playing the single player. From what I'm seeing, it looks fun enough already. I was just curious, can we do multiplayer if we wanted to? And the fact that that's there gives it even more potential. Especially imagine if the player base for this game grows, there's going to be a lot of people that are there to do that. And then you say that you can do it, like you said, sort of with an email style, where every time you log in, it's going to make it easier to do that, even if it takes longer. I think there's a lot to do here. I like the look of it. I like the idea of it. It's something that I haven't played necessarily exactly this. Like you said, I have played some strategy games, but this one looks a little bit different. It excites me. How much do they want for it?
This is a $15 title, which I think is completely warranted. This is absolutely worth $15. You are going to have at least, I would say, 5 or 6 hours of campaign, and you're going to have as much online time as you want. If you can find a couple of people who can get in there and you can set up these play-by-email style turns, you could theoretically have 10, 15, 20 games going at once. That is super, super cool. The developer of this game is also the same developer that did Darknet, which was one of the neatest strategy games in VR that came out last year, and I absolutely recommend this one. I think that this is a must-buy if you're into strategy titles, and I really, really, really like everything that they're doing here. This is a smart VR title.
As we always say, it's best to have these VR titles developed by people with some experience, so that's another positive sign for me. After hearing what you had to say, I absolutely would recommend it as well. Staxel is a farming game that reminded me of a mixture of Minecraft, Stardew Valley, and the old school Harvest Moon games. I'm a fan of all three of those, not necessarily Minecraft as much, but I've always been a sucker for farming games, whether that be farming simulators or even simplistic, happy-go-lucky Roblox style farming games like this. It really is about living in this town, building up your farm, growing crops, building your barn, but you also get to gather resources like you do in Minecraft. So it's really like a combination of the two, Minecraft and Stardew Valley.
I enjoyed Stardew Valley, but it always had a problem for me in that it wasn't immersive enough. I never felt like I was really part of it, and what ended up happening with that for me is I would stop playing. I would find a point where I said, I'm no longer interested because I don't feel any connection. Putting this into a first-person mode seems to be the thing that maybe we were missing. Harvest Moon, of course, led to Stardew Valley, so it's not surprising that they decided to take that and make a slightly darker version of it, but this looks so cool, and I am a fan of Minecraft. I've spent a lot of time in Minecraft building giant dwarven halls underneath mountains, and I really, really like that voxel style. So as soon as I saw this, as soon as I saw it was a voxel-based sandbox with the Stardew Valley stuff in it, I got kind of excited.
And you should be, because it does live up to exactly what it looks like it is, and for you to be a fan of those things, you're going to get exactly what you want. To comment on what you said about getting immersed in the world in a way, for me, I didn't have that in Stardew Valley either, but it was simply because I didn't identify with the characters as much like I did in Harvest Moon Friends of Mineral Town. That's one of the best cast of all time, and those same characters come back in a lot of the Harvest Moon games. I think the story and the characters in those games are what sets it apart from Stardew, because I like Harvest Moon better. This game does have town folk, it does have different shop owners, it has all of those things that you would expect from those other games, and they're doing what seems to be a really good job with it. Each of them have their own little things that they help you with, and they do have their personalities. The one thing though about this game that does bother me, and it's expected because it's in early access, and I don't think this is going to be a reason for me to say don't pay attention to this game, but it is poorly optimized. It drops a lot of frames. You can tell that it's loading in textures really slowly anytime that you're walking around. And with it being a voxel-based game like that, I think they have some work to do there just to optimize this thing and get it to run more smoothly. That's the only complaint that I really do have about it, but it's something that I have to bring up.
I'm not so worried about that because do you know who is publishing this game?
Yes, this is Humble Bundle.
This is a Humble Bundle game, which means that it has the backing of a major player in the market in order to be able to push out the inevitable finished product. I don't think we're going to see this game going the way of early access titles because it has such a major player behind it. It has IGN's owned Humble Bundle as the publisher. I don't see them ruining their good name by not producing a finished product. And I do actually appreciate what they did with this title, which is they very clearly say this game requires 8 gigabytes of RAM and a modern gaming graphics card. They clearly say it right away. So they're not trying to mislead you into thinking that your computer that is a potato can play this game. So I feel like that is something, even though it is poorly optimized, and I'm sure they're going to lower those recommendeds eventually, right now they're very clearly saying this isn't optimized, this is a very intensive title, and you should be aware of that. So I'm not so upset about that. I don't feel like they're misleading me.
I absolutely agree. I just wanted to make sure that people do know it's still in early access, so it's a work in progress, but I'm totally confident that they're going to have this game running really smoothly, because even when you leave a session, like after you finish playing, it asks you, leave us some detailed feedback, tell me exactly the problems you had, and they're taking it very seriously, like you said with the backing Humble Bundle. This is going to be a really solid game when it's finished, and I think it's totally playable right now. Just wanted to let people know that there are some optimization issues there. It's still a heck of a lot of fun though, and I totally recommend it. This game is $20 and it comes out on the 23rd, so you will be able to pick it up tomorrow, and I would absolutely recommend that you do so if you are a fan of these types of games, because I think it's going to be something that is going to grow and become better and better, and it's really, really fun.
Psyche Soldier is essentially a wave-based shooter.
Surprise, surprise, I can see it in your eyes. It's another wave-based shooter in VR.
The interesting thing is that I didn't feel bad about playing this one. It's not particularly incredible, but it is kind of fun. It's a very simple game, and it's a little strange. The story that's behind it has a lot to do with psychology and also drugs and maybe more things. There's a whole lot of very weird stuff happening here. You're going to have people whispering in your ears, and it's just a very strange game.
I'm certainly getting a psychedelic vibe out of it from all of the stuff that seems to be happening with the funky colors. It looks kind of like an LSD trip maybe, and if you were to combine that with someone whispering in my ear, I could certainly see how it could be like being on a drug trip in VR. Kind of maybe like a bad trip, actually. And I see you're getting mushrooms, so maybe you're high on shrooms and all of these monsters are coming to get you. It seems like it would be some kind of mushroom trip gone wrong.
From what I can gather, you are fighting mental demons, such as shame, stress, procrastination, and fear, and figuring out how to perfect your mind. The entire story of this game takes place in your subconscious, and you're taking on the demons in your subconscious, which is where this whole thing comes from. It is fun, and I don't feel bad recommending it for people who are looking for this type of game. I think, however, it is slightly overpriced at $10, but I also feel like you're going to get a lot of time out of this game if you decide to play it. You can spend several hours in it. It's not a short game, so you're not going to be doing really tiny game and paying a lot of money for it. I still feel like $10 is too much, though.
That's always how I look at it. How long am I going to play this based upon how much I'm going to pay for it? So if you say you can get a few hours out of it for $10, that seems fair. I also like the fact that it looks like it has a little menu in it. It looks actually kind of fun. I like VR games that let me actually fight stuff. So this looks like a game, not an experience. That's another plus for me. I'm also really intrigued by the entire concept of it. The idea of fighting your own mental enemies and the psychedelic nature of it. It just really looks unique. I haven't seen anything quite like this. So even though it is a wave-based shooter, it has its own personality, it seems like. And for me, I think that would be worth experiencing. Even if $10 is a little high, I would still recommend it. And hey, if you catch it on sale, I would certainly say try it out. Until None Remain is a third-person sci-fi battle royale game that does pretty much what you could expect out of other games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or H1Z1. It throws you onto a map, it slowly chokes that map down, except this one works in rounds. You'll have first round, second round gets smaller, and you do that until there's only one person left alive.
Sounds pretty simple.
It is simple. I will say that the weapons work pretty well, and that's the best thing about this game is that it is sci-fi. I've never really played a battle royale that is sci-fi like, so I like the rocket launchers and grenade launchers, laser rifles and pistols and all of that stuff. That's the coolest part of the game. The big problem that it has, though, like so many other games that we've looked at over the past few months, is that there is no player base. And for a battle royale game, you absolutely need players to be there to fill up the servers. There was me and one other person on here, and I will say the game does give you bots, but who wants to play a battle royale against bots? It's not the same experience that way, in my opinion. So that is going to be the biggest weakness, is finding people to play with.
To be fair, the developer has taken notice of that. This was previously a $8 game, and it has now been dropped to a $2 game, and they have discounted it pretty heavily several times now in order to encourage people to jump on and play it. So I think that they are aware of the fact that there is a player base issue, and they are trying to address that. I understand them not going immediately free to play because obviously you need to make a return on your game. So I actually kind of applaud them for making the moves to bring this back. Now, this game is also in VR. And the VR version, you're in first-person mode versus third-person mode.
Even imagining this in first person and in VR in a 3D environment, I couldn't imagine it being a lot better, but that's not to say that it's a bad game already, because it isn't. I did enjoy shooting the weapons, and I think everything works relatively smoothly. It seems to be optimized well. Because they are only charging $2 for it at this point, I will say it's worth that. I just still have reservations about saying that, and then you won't find anyone to play with. But that's a step in the right direction. If some people will go out there and pick this thing up for $2 and get some people on these servers, this could actually be a fun game, a game that I would enjoy a lot. Because the gameplay is there, and I enjoy the concept of it. It just really needs to get some more players. So for $2, if you're into Battle Royale games, I think this is worth picking up at that price.
One of the things that's going around right now is the fact that YouTube has changed its monetization system. This is something that affects a lot of creators really, really, really strongly, in that all of a sudden they are no longer making money. Now, a channel that is our size might only make $20 or $30 a month, but over the course of a year, that does mean that a creator has lost a few $100s. That could be the difference between not making or making videos now. YouTube has done this because they feel like small channels such as ours are not as, I don't want to say, invested in creating content as larger creators, but it sure feels that way. When you look at somebody like a Logan Paul or even a PewDiePie, though I respect PewDiePie a hell of a lot more than a Logan Paul, they are people who put out daily vlogs that are 15 minutes long talking about whatever the hell they can. And that's why we have problems like the Logan Paul Suicide Forest video, because they look at this and they go, this will get me views, this is something I can talk about, and move on to my next daily vlog. YouTube cares about those people a lot more when I feel like they put in a lot less effort for that kind of video once they reach that point. Now, that is, in my opinion, absolutely their prerogative to put in less effort. They've hit the 10, 20, 50 million subscriber mark. They're making millions of dollars a year. If they don't want to work anymore, that's fine. They can have staffs that do everything, and all they have to do is wander around and scream out, bro. That's cool. I want that myself, so I don't necessarily think that they're bad people for doing that. But it brings back into focus the fact that there is a major problem in YouTube, and that is, for a small channel like ours, there's only one way to grow. The only way that we can grow is if we are shared. If you as a viewer decide you like our stuff and you tell other people about it, that is literally the only way we grow. We don't grow organically. We don't have our videos show up on the front page of YouTube. We don't get linked to on CNN. We don't have that kind of outreach. And even though Brax and I will spend a lot of time promoting our videos, we will often see that external views are a few percent.
Yes, that's absolutely true. If we have a video that is successful, and I mean that in what I consider successful, then the overwhelming majority of the views and the interaction and the engagement on those videos are going to come from external sources. And that to me shows that it's really, really difficult for us to grow organically, because unless we get that traction from an external site, YouTube isn't going to promote our content. It's only in the first 48 hours after your video somehow gets shared somewhere and gets a few thousand views and a lot of watch time and engagement, comments, likes, etc. from outside of YouTube, then at that point YouTube will start promoting your content, and that's only with that one video. So to grow organically and to depend on 10 people that loyally watch your videos, if that's where you are as a content creator, if you're really, really small, you're not really going to grow at a rapid rate at all unless those 10 people are actively sharing your content and helping you promote your work. And unfortunately, I feel like what YouTube has done with this monetization policy isn't helping that problem. It's going to make it worse, especially for the super small creators. Like, the smaller you are, the worse this is for you, to be completely honest. I also have concerns about monetization being tied directly to promotion. Now, YouTube will tell you that is absolutely not true. You get the same amount of searchability, SEO, promotion from us, whether or not your content is monetized. I personally don't believe that's the case. I can't tell you exactly what the link is between monetization and searchability, but there has to be something there. I feel like there is. I'm no expert on the algorithm. I'm no MatPat. I don't know the ins and outs and intricacies of it, but I will tell you that from what I've read and what I've heard from people that are experts and have done their own research on it, there is a link between monetization and SEO. There has to be, because those that are monetized and are larger get so much promotion, whereas if you're unmonetized and you're much smaller, you're going to get basically none.
Now, I should clarify that we're not being demonetized. Our channel meets all of the requirements. This isn't us complaining about it because we're looking at it saying, oh, well, we're losing a couple of bucks. That's not the issue here. We are fine. However, it does, again, bring to light the fact that the only way these channels grow, the only way that they can actually sustain themselves over a long term, is to find alternative monetization methods, such as subscribing on Twitch and getting donations through Twitch, which is by far our largest portion of revenue that comes in, or by doing Patreon or something like that. The number one way that we can grow, however, is to be shared and talked about. If somebody is to watch this video and say, you know what, I really like this format, I think this is a cool video, and they were to put it onto Reddit, and that Reddit thread were to get a couple of upvotes and a few people see it, and then it gets a few more upvotes, that's how these type of channels get noticed. That's how Markiplier gets noticed. That's how H3H3 gets started. Like, that is literally how they got started. They get shared on Reddit. They get shared on Facebook. They go viral. And the only way that a creator can go viral is if people share it. So this is partially us saying, hey, help us out and share these videos. If you have a Reddit account, don't just stand there and say someone else will do it. No one else will. It's going to be you. We're too small that someone else will find us. We're too small that YouTube will recognize us. What you can do is you can take a video that you like and you can share it on Reddit. You can take a video that you like and you can share it on Facebook or on Twitter, though really truly Reddit is the best place. If you have a forum that you go to that talks about PUBG a lot, or talks about Doom a lot, or that talks about whatever a lot, you can go there and you can share one of our videos there and bring new fans to the channel. That is by far the number one thing that you as a viewer can do. Yes, watching the video helps, absolutely. And the fact that you're here at the end of this video means that you're giving us watch time, which means that YouTube looks in and says, hey, this is a good video, we'll share this. But the number one thing you can do is to tell other people about it and bring them in so that they can be a part of it. And I'm not trying to sell you on it, even though I am. I want you to help us. But I want you to also understand why helping us is a big deal. If you share it on Reddit, if you share it on Twitter or Facebook, if you tell people about the channel and you say, hey, check them out, that could be the difference between us continuing to be able to do these videos and us not being able to do them anymore because it's too time intensive, too cost intensive, and it's not forward progressing.
Right, and we've been at this for 2 years now. And while I'm happy that we have, gained the viewers that we have, and we have some people that really seem to enjoy our content, like you said, the amount of time and work that you and I put into this doesn't match the outcome that we have experienced so far. I really, 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 truly appreciate it when people tell us how much they enjoy our content. And, people say, I love you guys. And we have a lot of really cool people that are in our Discord that constantly show us support verbally. And I love that. I'm not saying that I don't appreciate that, but if you really mean that, and if you're invested in the content, then the only way to really truly help us outside of watching the videos and just hanging out in the streams or whatever is to share us. If not, we're going to be stagnant. We're never going to grow past the point that we are right now. And at that point, I can't continue to let this second job be a second job without some sort of reward. So guys, I, from the bottom of my heart, ask you, if you truly mean what you say and you do enjoy our content, any bit of help that you can give by sharing us and helping us to grow, I would be eternally grateful, and I would appreciate it forever.
And from the bottom of my heart as well, I have poured myself into this channel, which I feel like a lot of people who watch it consistently are able to see. And the number one reward is that people get to see that hard work. So if you find a video, if you have a favorite video, if there's something that you like on this channel, share it. Don't sit there and say, I like your videos, you should have more subscribers. That is the suckiest comment you can possibly get, is, I love this, why aren't you bigger? That sucks. It makes you feel terrible, because the question then is, well, why aren't I bigger? If you like me so much, why haven't you told anybody? So please, if you do like this, share it on Reddit, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it with your friends. Tell your mom about it. She'll love my voice.
I can stand behind that statement. I am pretty sure that everyone's mom will love Moriarty's voice, 100%.
So there you go, guys. If you like this video, please leave a like and share it. If you didn't like it, don't like it, but if you did, you can watch another video up there in the corner right now, and as always,
We'll see you guys on the next one.